Joining us now from London is Oliver Fairbank. He's the head of analysis at Orpheus Cyber, the only UK government-accredited cyber threat intelligence company. Thanks so much for being with us, Oliver. We really appreciate it. You know, we only just mentioned that attack on the Florida city's water supply, but I think that's a really frightening example because if it hadn't been caught in time, that staff employee, by the way, could have just as easily been on a lunch break and not caught it. People would have died. Innocent people that have nothing to do with, government cyber warfare. Do you think that case is an anomaly, or is there a real danger in that form of terrorism?
First of all, thanks for having me on. I think in terms of that particular incident, I don't necessarily think it's an anomaly. I think there's been a couple of similar incidents, even going back 20 years or so. There was a case study in Australia, potentially slightly less kind of damaging, where actually a disgruntled job applicant to the council there managed to access the waste management system and flood parks and playing fields with waste. We've also seen state actors, so really sophisticated state actors, for example, Russia targeting the electricity grid in Ukraine. I think these incidents increasingly can't be seen as anomalies. I think as long as there's a big disparity between the potential attack surface, so for example, the number of energy companies and utility providers that are going to struggle to secure their infrastructure, and as long as there's a disparity between them and the potential hackers with the capability to target these systems, I think that it's clear these types of incidents are going to become increasingly frequent.
Okay, what worries you the most, though? Where do you see kind of the biggest vulnerabilities?
Well, I think energy and utilities, it's kind of difficult to look too far away from that. And I think I guess the biggest concern, again, is that disparity between the sophistication and the level of resource required to effectively defend what we call industrial control systems versus the kind of really modest levels of capability and sophistication that are required to potentially compromise them. I think this latest incident in Florida is a kind of crystal clear example of that. So obviously it appears that there were kind of additional safeguards in place to potentially prevent the water supply being poisoned. But this was, they were able to access the utility provider in this case using software called TeamViewer, which is really kind of basic and freely accessible. There's no indication currently that this was a kind of a master hacker or anyone requiring a kind of nation state level capability. So I think it's that disparity, and I think it's the asymmetry between attack and defense that is a real concern.
Right. What good, let me ask you, would a digital Geneva Convention actually do? These are really criminals working in cyberspace. Are they going to care if there's a framework created by the United Nations saying you're not allowed to do this?
I think no is the short answer. I think the issue is, well, it's obviously a complicated issue. I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head that the actors or the entities that you're kind of looking to regulate or restrict the behavior of are not going to be deterred by international law. I think increasingly as well, we're seeing state actors, and there are a number of them that have engaged in this model because they want that plausible deniability for cyber attacks and even cyber espionage operations. They're looking to collaborate with third-party groups and organizations. They're looking to use their capabilities and essentially outsource their cyber attacks so they can avoid some of the political blowback. And I think you mentioned the kind of threat actor category of terrorists earlier, but similarly kind of opportunistic attackers, potentially malicious insiders, ideologically motivated threat actors. Again, they're least likely to have their behavior restricted by any sort of international convention or framework.
Okay, Oliver Fairbank joining us there. Thank you so much for your insight.